Welcome back to Lightning Health. This week we are talking about creatine. What is creatine? What does it do? How do you get it? Do you want it? And is it safe to use? We will find out through this episode of Healthy Vlogs. Okay, so as much as we talk about protein powder and the importance of it or lack thereof, I get just as many questions about creatine. Creatine is one of the supplements that is on the market that probably has some of the most research being done on it because it looks like there could be some really positive effects from taking this supplement. That being said, are these effects that are good for everyone? Are they effects that are applicable to everyone? And are there any side effects here? I think that these are all really good questions, and they're questions that I'm going to be diving in this week, in addition to talking about where we can find creatine naturally and probably taking you through some of Jared and me cooking while we do that. So to start this video off, I just want to talk a little bit about what creatine is. Creatine is a makeup of 3 amino acids that are produced in the body. So your body is able to create about 1 gram of creatine in your liver, pancreas, and kidneys. And for the research done, there's a pretty general consensus that for the general population, we should be getting around 1 to 3 grams of creatine per day. And if you are an athlete, getting about 5 grams of creatine per day. These numbers are definitely not pulled out of thin air, but they're also not super supported in the science just yet. I would say that if you are looking to supplement your creatine and see if that works for you, aim for that 5 gram number. That's usually what I do when I'm taking creatine. But I think the bigger question is, what does it do? To break it down as simply as possible, creatine allows your body to generate energy quickly. Here's a quote that I found from a medical journal. The mechanism is straightforward. If you're able to lift more weight in the gym, you're able to create more of the muscle fiber tears that your body can then repair and rebuild bigger and stronger after your workout. So when we're able to generate more energy, we're able to break down our muscles more, which will then repair bigger. So creatine is primarily used to increase muscle size and strength. There are tons of research studies that show that creatine can do this for some people, and then there are some research studies that show that this is false. We're gonna sift through all of this research this week and hopefully come to a consensus on whether or not you should be taking creatine and what it does for you. Fun. Okay, so speaking of creatine, we are making burgers tonight in the middle of winter. We are actually baking the burgers. So basically what we are doing, we are going to take our 2 pounds of ground beef. This is about 85% or 15% fat. And we are going to mix in some Lipton onion soup mix. So Lipton onion soup mix, very simple, pretty high in sodium, so it makes it so that when we put it in there, the burgers are so unbelievably juicy and so tasty, and we don't really salt the burgers otherwise. In terms of ingredients, it's pretty chill. It's onions, salt, cornstarch, onion powder, soy sauce, sugar, and then you get into like some of the grosser stuff like caramel color and maltodextrin. But honestly, all things considered, I'm not super worried about this. It's majority onion, and so it's like a little simple life pleasure for me. And it's like a little life hack too. It's just, you can do so much with Lipton onion soup mix. So I need a bowl. Where did I put that? Yes. I'm gonna take my ground beef, and then I'm gonna take my packet of Lipton onion soup mix. So again, that's about 2 pounds of meat, and I'll do 1 packet. And I'm just gonna mix it together with my hands and then form some burger patties. This is so fun. If you're feeling it's not mixing super well, you can add a little bit of water to it. I don't think you really need to. I think the package says that you can add a ½ cup of mayo too. That sounds delicious, but we're not doing that tonight. This is how we always made our burgers growing up, and we never did that, so I don't know. Sure, it would taste good. So why am I talking about burgers with creatine? So one of the sources of creatine that we can find is through red meat and fish. So our bodies naturally create creatine. We know that about 1 gram a day usually, but we can also find it in food. The numbers kind of range a little bit here. I was reading 1 gram of creatine per 1 to 2 pounds of meat, so it's very dependent upon the meat. So I was also reading something that said, you know, like If you were really looking to get all of your creatine just by eating meat, that'd be kind of ridiculous. It'd be so much meat that you'd be eating. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be thinking about the creatine that we are getting in our food, because there's a possibility that you, depending upon your goals, depending upon whether or not you're trying to like, you know, bulk up or whatever, that you don't need to be supplementing creatine. Maybe you can just eat some red meat every once in a while and that is enough creatine for your body, because it's definitely not something that our bodies like need. But like I said, you can find about 1 gram of creatine. So this meat probably has like 1 to 2 grams of creatine. And the general recommendation for a person is 1 to 3 grams per day. For high-level athletes, that number goes up to about 5. So if you are looking to like really bulk up, maybe you do want to supplement, maybe you can do like a little bit of your creatine from meat. Obviously your body's creating a little bit, and then maybe you're supplementing a little bit too. Okay, let's form them into some burger patties. So we're gonna make some smaller patties today. I like fat patties, and then you put a thumb indentation in there. Well, maybe I'll make them a little bit bigger than that, I don't know. So you preheat the oven to 425, and then we're just gonna leave them in there for like 15 minutes and see. We'll use the meat thermometer to make sure that it's done. And if people want cheese on your burger, you can put cheese on it like 2 minutes before you're gonna take them out. Don't put the cheese on right away. Jared and I love burgers. We generally don't eat them with a bun. We just have them with ketchup and mustard. In the summer, because we're both from Wisconsin, we both also love brats, so we'll have burgers and brats, and very good grilling activity. Alas, we obviously don't have a grill right now because it's winter, but you know, that won't stop us. These do not need to be perfect at all. But if you've never made your own burger patties, I would definitely suggest it. It's like so easy, and you really know like how you're seasoning everything, and it is definitely worth it. This may gross some people out, having to make your own burgers, but whatever. One of the topics that we're gonna be talking about in future videos is this idea of, if you are taking creatine to get bigger, why do you want to get bigger, right? I know that society, especially in men, says, oh, you should be jacked and you should look like Zac Efron and you should look like Hugh Jackman, big buff guys, right? But the reality is that if we put on a whole bunch of weight that our body is not naturally trying to do, it makes it a lot harder to keep that weight off when you get older. And I think that sometimes we don't look to the future when we're trying to like manipulate our bodies to gain weight. And we take all this creatine, we take all this protein, we're trying to like put on 20 pounds. We don't think about how that is actually doing a disservice to ourselves down the road, because it is so much easier to lose weight when you're 25 than it is when you are 55. It's a bigger conversation, but it is something that I want you to start thinking about. Why do you want to put on weight? Why do you want to get bigger? Because if your goal is to get fitter, I'm totally on board with that. But if your goal is just like, I want to have giant biceps and giant legs and like all that, I just want you to really think about that and make sure that your priorities are in the right place. The other thing I'll say is that like, if you're wanting to do a bodybuilding competition, I'm all for it. Like, do competitions, do things that are fun and motivate you. But if you're just trying to be healthy, why do you need to put on weight, right? Okay, I just made my burgers. They are thick girls. Here they are. Yum. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 on accident. Oops, that's okay. Great. So like I said, 425, we're gonna put them in for like 15 minutes and check them then. Maybe you'll need to put them in a little bit longer if you want them more well done. Otherwise, very easy. Delish. Okay, bye. Hello, so I just finished our community workout, and now we are about to start our Zoom Q&A for Lightning Fitness program. So twice a month we do a Q&A with everyone in the program on Zoom, and people ask questions, people get to know each other, and I'm excited. So I will be doing this. That'll probably be about an hour, and then I have my sister's baby shower, which is very exciting. She is due in April. So can't wait to meet our little niece. Yay. Okay. So right on time today, someone in our Zoom Q&A for Lightning Fitness program asked about creatine, which very apropos. We talked about, what kind of creatine you should be getting. You should be getting a creatine monohydrate. We don't need to be getting a creatine that is filled with a bunch of other stuff. We don't need it to have electrolytes or anything like that. We just want it to be just creatine if we're gonna do that. And we've already talked about kind of what creatine is, what it can do for you. It can help you, put on muscle mass. It can allow you to have a higher energy expenditure that allows you to break apart your muscles more so that they grow back bigger. And creatine can also sometimes have the effect where you take in a bunch of water. So a lot of times in that first week of starting creatine, you may feel like you are putting on a lot of water weight, and that is totally normal. For athletes, this makes a lot of sense. Creatine can be something that is really helpful for putting on muscle and making you stronger and making you faster. But the big question is whether you and I need to be taking creatine. I've taken creatine on and off for years now. My experience has not been super conclusive. I don't necessarily feel different when I'm on it. I don't feel like I'm, getting a bunch stronger than when I'm not taking creatine and protein and that kind of thing. And I guess it does bring up this question of why do we want to get bigger? I understand wanting to get fitter. I understand, getting a stronger back squat or getting a faster mile time or, not being winded when you walk up the stairs. That all makes sense to me. But, the conversation that we were having in the Q&A today was if you want to get bigger because society says that that's how we're supposed to look, we just kind of need to look at the big picture here, because if you're 20 or 30 and you're looking to put on weight so that you fit into this standard of, looking like a bodybuilder, it's not always going to be that easy to put on or lose weight. When you get to be 50 or 60 and then you're trying to lose that weight, it's a totally different ballgame. So I don't always think that creatine is the best option for people, nor do I think that it necessarily works. I was doing some research and I wrote, the research isn't overly positive either. Some studies show that creatine doesn't have any effects on performance of muscle gain, and that isn't so different than a lot of the supplements that we see today, that the research is pretty inconclusive and may be funded by the same companies that create the supplements. So I just think we have to be smart. I think that we have to try out creatine, which apparently doesn't have any negative side effects. Do it for a few weeks, see how your body feels. If it's something that ends up being a positive for you, I'm all for it. I also think that we spend way too much money on supplements. So if you try creatine and you don't feel anything, or you're not seeing any noticeable results, stop taking it. It's expensive and you don't need to be putting more processed shit into your body. So I just want you to be smart about all supplements, and we'll be talking about more supplements in the future for sure. There is a time and place for them, but just be smart. Don't just take every supplement under the sun thinking that that is going to solve your sustainable health problems, because it's definitely not sustainable from a money standpoint, and it may not be the healthiest option either. So I have some more stuff I want to talk to you about creatine, but I think that's enough for today. Okay, bye. Wait, there was one more thing that I wanted to talk to you about. So creatine is accepted by the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, and also by the NCAA. It is not a banned substance, which means that you can take it and still compete at the Olympics or in, a professional sports situation. That does not necessarily mean that it's safe. This is what the International Society of Sports Nutrition had to say about creatine. Creatine is one of the most popular and widely researched natural supplements. Supplementation with creatine has regularly shown to increase strength, fat-free mass, and muscle morphology with concurrent heavy resistance training more than resistance training alone. But they also added, although presently ingesting creatine as an oral supplement is considered safe and ethical, the perception of safety cannot be guaranteed, especially when administered for a long period of time to different populations: athletes, sedentary, patient, active, young, or elderly. So all really good things to keep in mind. The International Society of Sports Nutrition has done a lot of research on this, and we should definitely take what they have found into consideration. Creatine can help in making us better athletes, for sure. The question is, do you need to become a better athlete, or do you need to find sustainable health? And for some people, that question could be both. But for some people, the question is definitely not both, in which case you maybe do not need creatine. I don't know. Good morning, rounding out our week of creatine, and I realized that I haven't really talked about what I do for creatine. So I cycle on and off of it depending upon what I'm doing. So right now I am not at all competitive with my workouts. I am kind of in more of a maintenance phase where I'm moving to feel good, but I'm not doing any competitions or anything like that. So I haven't been using creatine. When I do use it, I'll usually use it for like 6 weeks at a time, and I'll usually use 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. The one that I use is this creatine monohydrate. I've had this for like 6 months because I don't really use it very often, and it has 5 grams per 1 teaspoon, and I just put it in my smoothie in the morning. It blends really well that way, and I don't taste it, and you know, it's just creatine, which is good. The one thing I'll say is that I worked with First Form, which is what this company is, for a while, until over the summer they kind of showed their true colors to me a little bit. They weren't willing to say that Black Lives Matter. They had a blue collar pride event in July, but wouldn't do any kind of pride event for LGBTQIA community in June. And this was kind of a big awakening to me. I love the products. I think that they are clean and great. They taste good, but I'm not really okay with working with a company that wasn't willing to say that Black Lives Matter and be okay with having a pride event for the gay community. So I'm not gonna like throw this away. I'm not gonna waste it. That's just stupid, but I definitely don't purchase anything from First Form anymore. And I will kind of leave that up to you if you wanna do that. I'm just trying to be like as transparent as possible that I do like their products, but I think that there are so many other companies that have clean and good products and aren't kind of ultra conservative in this way. So yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this week's vlog on creatine. Hope it gave you some answers of whether or not creatine may be right for you and how to use it properly. And I will see you next week for our next healthy vlog. Bye.